Warning. The following podcast contains two morons talking about sophisticated subject matter, like news and hoo-has. Also a few whoopsie-daisies and at least one house or auntie. If you don't have a strong stomach, you know where the door is. Right. On with the shenanigans then. The podcast which you are about to hear is an account of the tragedy which befell two washed-up losers. In particular, Court PSYOPS and his immature co-host, Matt. It was all the more tragic in that they were uncultured morons. But had they lived very, very full lives, they could not have expected, nor would they have wished to see as much of the mad and macabre as they were to see each week. For them, an idiotic podcast show became a nightmare. The events of each week were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, Cinema PSYOPS, with Court and Matt.
What is PSYOPS?
PSYOPS, for psychological operations, is very simply the art of influencing how people feel and think, and ultimately how they behave and what they do. You don't have to defeat the enemy on the battlefield. It's better if you can convince the enemy to do what you want him to do without having to fight him. And that's really the intent behind PSYOPS, to convince people to do what you want them to do.
So how does PSYOPS fit into what's happening now?
The 2 points I'd like to make with you and the audience is that, first and foremost, PSYOPS saves lives. The second thing I'd like to say, a lot of people have misconception about PSYOPS. They think it's something devious and brainwashing.
You say you don't know exactly what's going on right now, but we do know that there are some PSYOPs going on, right?
Ma'am, I don't know.
Cinema PSYOPS.
And I believe with all of my heart that it is a contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today. Why I believe that is because I know how it feels. I know what it does to you.
Cinema PSYOPS.
They think it's something devious and brainwashing.
Welcome to the 309th episode of Cinema PSYOPS, the podcast that no hurricane force winds can blow away. Joining me all the way across the windblown city that lost cell towers, trees, and God knows what else of Omaha is my co-host, Matt.
We almost ended up in Oz. I mean, the prison, not the place. But that's because of looting shit. But we can't talk about it.
Actually, there's many things that are extremely disappointing about living without power for 5 days.
Yeah. Other than living without power for 5 days.
Right. There's many things about that are quite angering. There's many things that are wrong with this storm, and that we have learned nothing in the one that happened 12 years before that did the exact same thing. And then however many years before, but had less winds than even this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Putting all of that aside, I do have to say that I have seen the people of Omaha coming together and helping each other and doing the right thing. And like the heart of the people in this town, at least the ones that I've interacted with, and even I ended up helping, and we were trying to take care of each other, in the neighborhoods and stuff. I will say this, at least the people were trying to watch out for each other.
Yeah.
Because fuck all anybody else did shit right.
That's very true. I mean, I have nothing. Our mayor wasn't even in town for it. I mean, she needed to go see a golf tournament.
Yeah, it's more important. She has to keep up appearances for Omaha. Yeah. So we had our
governor was too busy going around telling people that gays are bad.
Yeah, to even bother to declare a state of emergency and help anybody out. There were people without power for 5 days. People have lost food. There are people that probably could have died from heat exposure, or who knows what else that could have happened in their homes.
I'm telling you, the governor and the mayor should thank Mother Nature for bailing them out, because after that storm rolled through, it was maybe some of the most mild temperatures I'd ever seen, even downright cool
for the first couple
of July.
For the first couple of days of it, though,
yeah.
The last two I had no power were awful.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying, the last two were bad. I'm just saying that the mayor and the governor got real lucky that it didn't go right to 90-degree temperatures again like it usually does in July in this state. If it was a usual time, people would be dead.
Yeah.
There'd be deaths.
Well, and they were like, call a care provider, make arrangements with other people. Like, they didn't even bother trying to get, some kind of relief from a very clearly serious natural disaster that leveled parts of the city.
Yeah, right?
Or at least the trees anyway. I know the buildings held up to it and everything.
That's because it didn't hit West Omaha as hard, and that's, where their voters are. So what do they care?
Yeah. Well, that's why they keep annexing further and further and further west to, bring back the numbers that they want, because those are the people that they take care of. Anyway, fuck this. Bullshit.
Fuck it.
What really actually happened is the tall man is not happy with the in-depth coverage that we did of the first movie, Matt.
That's a fact. He is pretty pissed off.
We analyzed a little too deeply. We dug in and started asking too many questions, and we now have our audience thinking, am I watching a movie, or is this a chronicle or a memory of what the tall man is really doing?
Right?
Yeah. And if you're not doing that, folks, may I recommend you move yourself to a Colorado state and get yourself in that frame of mind.
Yeah, start thinking about shit, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I meant, but okay.
All right.
So that's why we had hurricane force winds level fucking Omaha.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah. Now the fun stuff that actually happened during this, because I had no power for 5 days and I wanted to make the episode release, I packed up my computer.
Yeah.
And hauled it over to your house.
Yes, you did. You got welcomed into the bunker.
Yes, I went to the bunker. So while I was doing that episode release, we're bullshitting and everything, and I fucked it up. It didn't work, Matt.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It posted it, but it didn't push it to any of the podcatchers out there. Like, the feed didn't update from it because I screwed up the episode when I did the post. And
you dumb bastard.
I posted it all around. Well, you were not going to shut up and you kept distracting me, so that's why I fucked it up.
Oh, yeah. I kept distracting you.
We hadn't seen each other. Let's be fair. We hadn't seen each other in a really long time, and I was too busy bullshitting with you and just having a good time, and I wasn't paying enough attention to what I was doing, and I fucked it up. Yes.
Exactly.
Then after I got done posting it to Facebook and I went home and I realized it didn't work, I was like, okay, well, I'll check it, later at night, and if in a couple hours it doesn't post, then I'll fix it, I'll find a way to try and fix it. So I forgot about it till I woke up at 4 a.m. thanks to my anxiety, because that's what happens. And let me tell you, I haven't slept very much in the last couple of days.
I wouldn't think you have.
But I waking up like all the time worrying about everything and checking everything all the time. Yeah, that was me. I had it under control until this happened. I'm starting to get back to my routine and I'm feeling a little better, but
that happens to me ever so often, where I just I snap and I can't sleep, or I go to sleep and then without fail I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and that's it.
Right. Well, I woke up at 4 a.m. and realized that it wasn't working, right? Because by 4 a.m. it wasn't working on Monday morning.
Yeah.
And I message Bo, who's about to go on vacation, and I tell him, like, Bo, episode's not posting on Overcast. It's not on iTunes. It's not on podcatchers. Bo, what's wrong? And he's like, okay, no problem. Just get on there, do this, fix it. Bo, I don't have power at my house. I haven't had power for 4 days. He's like, do you have the link that you used? I'm like, I don't remember what it was. I'm sorry. I was like, maybe I can get a hold of Matt and I'll go over there before work. And then he messages me back and he's like, was this the link? And I'm like, yeah, it was. That was it, And he goes, okay, I'm taking care of it. And I immediately switch from Bo to, oh, thank you, Bo. So thank you. So we technically still made our release schedule. It was just delayed by a couple of hours due to a technical glitch, but the posting went when it posted. It just didn't update any of the podcatchers out there. So that's what happened.
Podcast Daddy for helping you?
Yes, very much so. And then I told him, thank you. And then I made fun of myself and aggrandized myself like online social media. Like saying that he deals with my whiny ass, which he does. He deals with my whiny ass. I don't know if people realize this or not, but Cinema PSYOPS may or may not be the divas of Legion Podcast now.
We whine an awful fucking lot.
Well, one of us doesn't communicate with anybody outside of the podcasting world like a goddamn hermit.
Yeah, well, okay. That's part of being diva-ish, all right?
That's fair. Yeah, I can totally see that.
You whine a lot, and I just shut down.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But we still do the coverage, and now let's move.
But we still do the fucking show.
Yeah. I still got the show out. It took a lot of whining and Bo's help, but I still got the show out. Yes. All right, so enough whining and complaining. We're at 309 episodes. We're talking Phantasm 2 this week. Now, you remember when we covered part 1, I said something along the lines of, I really, really like this one, but I don't know if I can say this is my favorite. I know one of these other ones I love so much more, but I can't remember, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I was pretty sure it was 2 when I was saying that. I was just trying to be facetious because I didn't want to blow my wad, right?
Uh-huh.
So now I'm watching 2 and I'm like, I remember the movie, obviously, but I remembered something else happening and I'm like, oh my God, my favorite movie is the Phantasm movie I may have cut together inside my head. Of all the different scenes that I remember, all the stuff that I'm like, this is cool, like a highlight reel. Like, my favorite Phantasm movie may be a construct that does not even exist.
Ooh, man. Yeah. This is definitely not the Phantasm movie I saw, so I never saw 1 or 2 before.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Now, I can say that 2 is the one that I have definitely watched the most because it was it was the one that I was exposed to the series with. Phantasm 2, I mean. It was on like Stars or one of those other channels like a fucking ton.
That might have been why I saw one of the other ones.
I know just this one was on Stars. I know that I think the other ones were on like the movie channel or Showtime, like 3 and 4 might have been when we were kids, when they first came out, like that they premiered on those channels, but I can't say that 100% for certain. But I know this one was on Stars when I was like young, and this was the first one I saw. It was definitely my entrance into the series. And going back to 1 and it being this more cerebral, more like investigatory, like, haunting, ethereal feeling film, I didn't have as much fun the first time I watched it because I had watched the second one and I had this like balls to the wall, let's just say it, Evil Dead 2 feeling, interdimensional alien monster gore fest that's so much fucking fun. And then going back to this, very quiet, very ponderous film, when you're a kid, you don't get it. It just doesn't work for you. So it took until I got into my later teens that I went back to Phantasm 1 and I decided that I needed to try and watch Phantasm 1 as much as I've watched Phantasm 2, if not more. And I have surpassed that. And I'm not going to do numbers because A, it's way more than you actually think it is. And B, it's to the point that it's embarrassing how many times I've watched these movies.
Jesus.
Specifically 1 and 2 I've watched the most. Like the later ones, 3, 4, or 5, I haven't watched as much. But specifically these 2 I've watched a lot. Kind of like when I watched Fletch Lives. I had this coping mechanism as a kid when I was miserable of just watching the same movie every day. Like once a day, every day at least, over and over again.
Yeah,
and
of course.
These were
and also you watch Fletch like anytime that, Chevy Chase is an asshole. Because it reminds you of a simpler time before you knew that Chevy Chase was an asshole.
That's one of the reasons why I watched Fletch Lives as many times as I have. But that was one of the movies. It was like, there's like 4 or 5 of them. And so Phantasm 1, Phantasm 2, and Fletch Lives were movies that for a while there when I was miserable, and I rotated them, but I watched each of those at least once a day.
Yeah.
For every day for like a long time as a kid, like to the point where my parents thought something was wrong with me. And it probably is. Yeah, they were probably right.
There was something wrong with you. I don't know about.
Right, but like Phantasm 2 is definitely the first one that I saw, and until I made sure that I got them at least somewhat even, so where it wasn't so bad, and that I can really get a good appreciation of Phantasm 1, I've watched Phantasm 2 the most out of all of them. Still, I'm sure, by like 1 or 2 more. I can't tell. I've lost count, maybe, but I know it's more times than I'm willing to admit that I've watched these movies. But let's actually dig into the film and let's get the discussion going on the movie here.
Yeah,
right?
Fucking A, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right, so here's the Legion Patreon ad, and let's get this done.
This'll keep it quiet.
Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. You caught me cutting a new show. I'm Bo Ransdell, and I'm one of the many creators you can find on Legion Podcasts. I said quiet! My fellow podcasters and I work hard to bring you the best in horror podcasting, but that comes at a cost.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Not that, but also yes. No, what I'm getting at is that there are server costs for good microphones and software for editing, all the things that make our shows, fun to listen to. And you can help. If you're enjoying the shows on legionpodcasts.com or in the Legion Network available on iTunes and Stitcher, just about anywhere you can download a podcast really, you can help us out and get a little something for your trouble at patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. For just $2 a month, you get a pair of movie commentaries exclusive to Patreon, and for $5, you can also join us for a monthly screening of a movie. All of that available on patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Now, back to the cutting room.
I want to talk about the judicious reuse of material from your original film to bring you into the story of your second film that is your sequel. One of the things that you reuse and reuse well is your soundtrack, and that is why I am playing The Hearse Inferno from the first film, because they reuse it, because they reuse scenes in the first film as well, but they also reuse the music elsewhere, like where the score will work. Just wanted to point that out.
Nice.
Yeah, judicious use of that. They even reuse things in this trailer.
Phantasm, the delusion of a disordered mind, a phantom, a spirit, a ghost. For 10 years, the secret of Perigord Cemetery has remained a mystery. Now, 3 innocent people are about to discover the ultimate evil.
You think that when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
We've got to warn people. Phantasm 2.
It's only a dream.
It's a dream. No, it's not.
Well, she definitely gives good trailer. I'll give her that.
Wow, way to give away the end of the fucking movie.
Shh.
Oh, right. My bad. Sorry about that, everyone. So anyway, Phantasm 2. Electric Boogaloo? All right. First 20 minutes.
Haven't done that dumb joke in a while.
I know, right? So, there we go. We see a girl wakes up and she checks her stove. That'll come into play here in a little bit. And then she talks about how she had visions of Mike and Reggie and of the tall man. And she goes through this notebook in which we have drawings. We then end up into, that was actually going to be a clip, but a flashback kind of breaks the whole thing up. So it's just like, fuck it.
I found that you are showing a tremendous amount of restraint in the amount of clipping that you're doing. Like, I think if you learned how to edit, you would be able to clip out the flashback sequences.
Well, I could clip out. I could have done that. I also will say this. This particular movie was harder to clip, just to me. To find anything of substance that lasted long enough, it's a very visual movie.
Well, they're on the run for most of it, so there's very little dialogue. I get that. Yeah.
I mean, and then there's a lot of Reggie narration. But those narrations are like almost 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then we're into another scene. So it's kind of just, fuck it, I'll talk about it.
Okay.
again, I clipped together about 3 clips as best as I could. One for a very funny reason too, and we'll get into that when it's done. So anyway, so we flash back to the end of the first movie. We see Reggie, sends Mike up there, break glass, all that happens. And then Reggie hears something happening. He checks it out and he sees one of the dwarves. Well, he runs downstairs, grabs one of the shotguns. It's not really loaded. So while he's searching for more ammo, he gets surrounded by a ton of dwarves. And he starts jacking up the gas on the grill or on the oven, knowing that the fire in the fireplace is going. Then he runs off.
Can I ask you a question about this action where it starts on the actual new part of the film with all the action that's going on with Reggie, where he's rooting around for shells and everything? Does this not feel very much like Sam Raimi and Evil Dead, like what they're doing right here and how Sam Raimi's Evil Dead goes, where it's still horrifying, but it's got this sort of like slapsticky, panicky, flipping around, falling on stuff?
It's very much slapsticky in this movie. There's a lot of slapsticky. And I also say this, that house they're in, that's somebody's house. It's not a set.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody has enough time to actually make junk drawers. That's one of the things that just stuck out to me. He's going through drawers, and you can tell the drawers he's opening in the kitchen are junk drawers. They're filled with the max with actual stuff, not with just papers, but with stuff. Looking for ammo. I'm like, this isn't a set. They're just in someone's house.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I can't remember whose it actually was, but I know for a fact that it is somebody's house. Now, the frantic nature of it and everything, when I was getting that feeling, I didn't kind of really realize it or not, but there's other evidence to point out that Don Coscarelli really enjoyed the style of filmmaking that is splat stick, because Sam Raimi is really kind of the pioneer of splat stick. Sam Raimi and that crew. I mean, I'll take other submissions and I'll watch, if somebody wants to say that it's no, somebody else did this before, the splat stick, and I could see where someone would say Herschel Gordon Lewis, but like the one that a lot of people really will remember, and like probably the people that even coined the phrase splat stick is Sam Raimi's crew. Those guys, Bruce and Sam and Rob Tapert and all those dudes. And I was suspecting this without knowing any other information about the movie for a while, for a good while as a kid, because I never really do a lot of research about the behind the scenes stuff of these movies, because there's something where I like to get into them to the point where I like to pretend like they might actually be real when I'm watching them, for the fun of it, like to like really get into it and get jazzed.
Like, oh my God, I'm somehow watching these people's lives.
Right. So I'm demystifying that to do this series for the coverage for the show. I'm giving that up, and I'm learning more about it as I go. And I've always thought, man, this is so much like Sam Raimi stuff, like this feels very Sam Raimi to me, and it feels very splat stick. And this time around when I'm watching it, I'm really feeling it. Right. Okay. So I just wanted to set that up and just say that that's what I'm talking about, because I'm going to reveal some things later on when we get further into it as to why I was thinking that, and then how maybe that came to fruition whenever I found out some of them behind the scenes and how the film was made.
All right.
But even the stuff with the dwarfs, all this action that you're describing is very much splat stick. And I'll just back off and let you do the review now.
It's still very funny that Reggie looks like he's aged about 10 years, but this is supposed to be same day.
About 9.5 years, but
Yeah. We see the dwarfs are dragging Mike out of his bedroom, face down. Reggie's able to avoid the tall man, and he knocks out one of the dwarves, and he grabs Mike, and then he sees that all the dwarves are starting to come upstairs, the ones they evaded. So he launches he and Mike out of the bedroom window, and then the house explodes, killing all the dwarves, but not the tall man, as he had already walked out.
Okay, we got to talk about the explosion here for a second, right?
Yeah. That looked like a pretty good explosion.
It was amazing, and they filmed it from multiple angles, and they reused that shot several times, but it looked different every time, even when, we'll get to it. But anyway, that explosion where Angus Scrimm is walking away, the actor himself, the man himself, is standing very close to an exploding house, and he walks away like it's nothing. That is, of course, because you walk
away from, because badasses always walk away from something they just destroyed and not look. That's why I always walk away from your toilet and I don't look.
That sequence where it explodes and Angus Scrimm is just standing there as an actor. knowing that that explosion's about to happen, everybody fucking winces. Everybody, at least a little bit. It's very subtle for most people, but like everybody at least reacts or winces.
Has a little, a reflex. Sorry, I have reflexes, motherfuckers.
Right. But Angus Scrimm playing the tall man, I don't know how he fucking does it, but he's just like dead to the world, doesn't move during the explosion, and then when it gets bright and everything, he's walking away, but he only looks to make sure he doesn't get hit by debris as he's walking away.
Even that wince or that look back is kind of a look back, like he looks annoyed, like, this again. I'm a part of explosions every other day. Right. This is tedious.
Well, and he doesn't even he doesn't even really look back. He just kind of turns to the side and glances. It's not like he turns around. He just kind of glances at it when he walks away, like facing, he's already facing the side of it.
Maybe almost like, God, these kids call that an explosion? Fucking Christ. That was a badass scene. And I was like, wow. Because, you kind of know what Reggie's going for. He's turning on the gas like that. And I'm like, this is going to be pitiful if they're going to try to do an explosion. Because I'm like, I just don't know if they're going to have the budget. And fucking, they blew shit up. And I was quite proud of them for it.
Oh, I thought I told you that this one was like it was a major studio tried to get in on the franchise.
I know it was a major studio, but because you could see it when all the credits were coming up. You could tell that was a major studio. Sometimes major studios don't give out all that fucking shit though.
Well, that's the thing about Don Coscarelli. He spends the money where it fucking matters, and he reuses what's something that's able to be reused. He is one of the most artistic yet budget conscious directors that are alive. He's like, when Corman used to actually shoot movies, he was able to get these amazing looking movies on such minuscule budgets with these like reused sets and various things like that. And Don Coscarelli knows how to stretch a budget but not sacrifice the look and feel of a film.
I guess because, not to spoil it, this entire film looks good.
Right. Now that explosion is definitely a big portion of this budget, right?
Yeah.
But it is so gloriously shot. Like, I felt scared for Angus Scrimm the first time I saw this movie as the actor, the man, not the tall man. I felt scared that he didn't even, I felt scared when I realized it was, he was obviously going to be safe, but like, I feel scared seeing that explosion because you're like, holy fucking shit, this guy didn't react to anything.
I mean, you think that fuck up his goddamn hearing.
Something, right? Yeah. But this film definitely, when it does that explosion, this is like what the first movie kind of should have ended with. They get away and you get some hope and that's how you get a sequel, but he never planned to have a sequel. So what he did was retcon the ending by just tacking on a giant fucking explosion, and your brain goes, yeah, that's how that movie ended. Yeah, seriously, you don't think about it, like, and then you just go right into the rest of the movie. He's placating you with like, look, we're going to have fun. Here's a giant goddamn explosion in the first 5-10 minutes. Now what do you think's going to happen? And then we go on with the film.
We're going to do some good stuff here, folks. You're going to be real proud of it.
Right. Don Coscarelli knows how to make a movie that makes court psyops fucking happy.
Yeah, I would say so. So anyway, well, the girl says that, now we're back to her, and she says she grew up with Mike, and when her grandfather's gone and dies, her visions will all come true, and that the tall man knows who she is. Well, she's calling out to Mike, and we see Mike can hear her, and he's obviously in an insane asylum, and he meets with a doctor, and that is our first clip.
Well, I guess you could say I just really went over the deep end. I mean, I got to the point where I couldn't distinguish fantasy from reality.
That's good. Keep it up.
And I don't blame Reg anymore. I mean, what could he do? I mean, the dreams have really just taken hold of me.
Just tell him what he wants to hear.
And besides, since I lost my family, Reg is really the only person I've got. He's the only one that's
I gotta get out of here. She needs me.
These dreams, I'm really looking forward to just moving back in with him and getting on with my life. There's a lot of things I want to do.
It's been a tough 7 years, but you've come a long way. Be well, Michael. And remember, it was all in your imagination.
What the fuck it was.
All right, so you remember how I said, no matter what, when you try to describe something or you try to get someone to believe you or you try to warn anybody or whatever, people are just going to think you're a crazy person?
Yeah.
Well, look what happened to Michael. And
yeah, exactly.
We need to talk about it. Yes, Michael got replaced. No, Don Coscarelli did not want this. Yes, the actor who originally played Michael would have loved to come back to be in the film. Yeah. And I will say that this is the only one he's not in. He gets to be in all the other ones.
Oh, okay. He does get to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He does come back and he is in all the other ones, but he just wasn't in this one just because for whatever fuck all reason they did that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was probably studio pressure. They wanted to have somebody else to try and make it more marketable.
Strapping
maybe.
young lad.
Right. But the guy who plays Michael would have been the perfect age to play Michael. I think they just wanted to have James LeGros. And he doesn't do a terrible job in this movie. He is good. It's just he's not really the Michael that we had in the last one. And he's written like the Michael that we had, but he doesn't perform it that way. And I just feel like maybe he was making choices that were making everybody else's life a little more difficult.
Yeah, but I don't think like on purpose, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't
think he was trying to make lives difficult.
Well, I can't speak for his actual intentions, but it just feels labored to try and make him feel like Michael to me for some reason, when he, could have very easily been Michael, and I'm sure everybody would have loved to have Michael back. But anyway, he does a fine enough job, but I feel like any faults that I would have with this movie rest mostly on his shoulders.
Well, I'm not going to say you're wrong on that. Well, Mike heads back to the graveyard right away, starts digging up some graves. He opens up the boxes, and they are definitely empty.
This shit is creepy as fuck, dude. This is like ghost story, serious, gothic, creepy, awesome.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. Then Reggie kind of gives us a nice little jump scare. But he shows up and confronts him. Mike tells him about the girl, his visions, all that. Reggie says that him blowing up his own house, all that never happened. That was all in his head. That was all the dreams. Well, they see Reggie wants Mike to meet his family, and they see a guy coming up, and he says, Mike, we gotta get out of here. If they catch you here, we're fucking done. So they take off in the fucking badass car, by the way, that makes its reappearance.
The Hemi Cuda never died.
Yep. Mike has a premonition of a stove being left on and the tall man saying, welcome home, boy. And he says the tall man's going to go ahead and kill Reggie's entire family. And sure enough, they pull up to the house and the house fucking explodes.
This sequence is heart-wrenching.
Yes, because Reggie gets out bawling. His wife, his daughter, and his aunt are all gone.
Do you hear him screaming? Did you hear what he was screaming? We got to save him. We got to get him.
We got to save him. Yep, we got to get him. I mean, when you know that they're all dead.
Yeah, and Michael is trying to hold him back, and Reggie's just like, he's gone. He can't process what happened.
Michael knows exactly what Reggie's going through because the tall man cost Michael his entire family.
Yes, yeah, but like slowly and over time. Yeah. This is all at once, and Michael knows exactly how that feels. This is an escalation of epic proportions. He doesn't just try to warn Reggie off and not believe Michael or anything like that.
Yeah.
He is punishing Reggie for his previous interference. It's time for Reggie to pay the piper for what happened in the first movie. So by having this happen, I feel like what Reggie did in the first movie was something like it actually did take place. The way that they foiled the tall man in the first movie, I feel like it must have taken place. And this is the tall man coming back for vengeance now that...
Yeah, the tall man switched reality so that Reggie doesn't remember doing any of this to him. But he must have did enough to cost the tall man, Mike, which Mike must be something special that if the tall man can get a hold of it. Whatever's inside Mike, then, it's good for them.
Yeah, he's after Mike for reasons we don't know and may never really fully know.
Reggie didn't believe Mike. Tall man should know this. Tall man wants Mike to come after him. And the only way to do that, because Mike doesn't have any family left except for Reggie, is to blow Reggie's family up. That's what I think. I don't think it's anything against Reggie. I think it's the only way to get Mike to come after the tall man. Because the tall man needs Mike, or wants him. Maybe doesn't need him, but wants him for some reason. And if Mike somehow gets a happy life with Reggie, he might never come looking.
Okay, well, here's how we really need to lay this out, right?
Yeah.
If you believe that the events that took place in the first movie that we were shown, where they fight the tall man and win, where Reggie, closes the portal and all that kind of stuff. If you believe that's the case, then you draw the conclusion that this explosion is vengeance for that.
Yeah.
If you do not believe that, or if you don't know if that's real or not, or if you think the tall man is not one to try and get vengeance and doesn't care or whatever, then you're going to just believe for the very sadistic purpose of just making him get on the road. I think it's two birds with one stone, more or less. I think the tall man is petty and vengeful because of the way he likes to torment people. So I think it's both. I think think he needs them to get on the road. Obviously, he wants Michael to come looking for him, so he doesn't have to go looking for him. Because he wants Michael to be on the road. He wants him to be a loner, and he wants everyone to think there's something wrong with him, and he wants to isolate him. And by killing the family, that's a perfect way to do it.
True enough.
I think it's both.
Yeah. Well, after the funeral, Reggie says he's going to join Mike in his crusade to kill the tall man.
Yeah, you better fucking believe he's going to get some vengeance.
Yeah. They go full Evil Dead / MacGyver in making a flamethrower and a 4-barrel shotgun. Very much Evil Dead. And I like to include a little MacGyver in there.
I just want to talk about that sequence a little bit more than that.
Go ahead.
Them busting into the hardware store and then them making these weapons while they're in the hardware store. That is one of the coolest sequences. And now, I was saying that he's doing Sam Raimi and he's doing Splatstick and all of that kind of stuff, but he's doing it with his own flair and his own panache here. And this sequence particularly, it reminded me a lot of some of the Dawn of the Dead shopping, only it's more dour and more grim and more, we got to do this and this is about vengeance, and they're focused on what they're doing, but they're still having a little fun with it, where they make the fake headlights and stuff. I also want to point out the way that they make those weapons, they would be extremely dangerous, don't get me wrong, but that is functional. The film shows you in step how to make the weapons the way that they made them, these makeshift fucking flamethrower and 4-barrel shotgun with the solid version. They kind of show you how to do it and have it work.
Yeah,
and
true.
And that's kind of dangerous and cool. And then the last thing that you didn't note is when they leave, Reggie pops open the cash register and throws several $100 bills, probably more than enough to cover everything that
I was going to say that. Yeah, they paid.
Yeah. But okay, that's all. I just needed to mention all that.
All right. So then they leave and they pull up to a destroyed town.
It's a fucking apocalypse, dude.
Yeah. And they say they know it's probably a trap. The graveyard they check out is all dug up and empty. So they decide they want to check it out and they gear up, and that's the end of the first 20 minutes.
Okay, we need to really, really dig in now. I know.
So now we see what the tall man does to towns. What he was going to do to Mike's town. What he, that in the first movie. They don't just stop with the dead bodies. They then create the dead and take those bodies. And then they just go on a killing spree.
Yes, more or less. He cleans out entire towns, and he does small towns all over the place, and they're supposed to be small towns. But that one town is right along a highway, right? It goes the highway becomes the main drag of the town. And how many of these towns can he clear out and get away with it? Is he making people forget that the towns ever existed too?
Or he just kills everyone who fucking knows about it.
And just keeps going, and then the next people, and then
because these are small towns, not a lot of people leave. And then the ones who do leave, when you have a funeral for someone who is important to the town, they come back to visit and you nab them. So then before it's all said and done, the town's just forgotten.
Ooh, I like that concept. That's really fucking creepy and eerie. I'm glad you thought of it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how I thought of it.
Yeah. See, I
remembered in the first movie when it was Thomas's funeral at the very beginning, remember? That's what brought Mike back. Or Mike,
Jody.
Or not Mike.
That's what brought Jody back.
Jody actually came back for, his parents' funerals. And he was still there. But Jody's friend who he talked to in the very beginning, one of the clips, he came back for Thomas's funeral. That's how he gets you.
That's a really good catch, man. I really dug that. I didn't think of that before like that. Yeah. I just thought he just clears out, he clears out the towns and then makes people forget about them. But you're saying the same thing, but instead of having to do it supernaturally, you're talking about a very logistical way to wipe a town off the face of the earth and make people forget about it.
Yeah.
Systematically.
They got nothing but time.
Yeah, that's almost more horrifying, right?
Very.
So fucking emotionless and cold and systematically cleaning out the town. I totally see the tall man doing that. That's kind of how it goes. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
And the sequences that are, where they're digging around through the towns or they're looking at these various abandoned areas that they go through, it's just so gothic and horrifying and post-apocalyptic, otherworldly looking. There's apocalypses where there's just so much death and no one knows this is happening or they even notice. It's just Mike and Reggie. Jesus.
And then let's say there's a few people who come back to visit. They come back to a damaged town with tall man already gone. Who's going to listen to one or two people about, oh my God, this is such a thriving little town? No, listen to them. They'll probably just look at it, shiver, and turn around, walk away. Or even if they do call some other police force and say, hey man, all these people are missing. no one's going to care. It's going to go on an unsolved mystery show that's going to be forgotten in the bottom of a bin someplace, and no one's going to care. and the tall man just keeps on going.
Yeah. That's the really horrifying part of it, is just the very simple logistics where there's a handful of people he has to fuck with reality with, because the reality of it is that people really are kind of genuinely that easily forgetting of something if they never really knew it existed. Like if a small town disappeared and someone tried to tell you that this town was gone, you'd be like, I don't know what happened to it, but you wouldn't really care.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't been back there for 20 years. What happened to it? I don't fucking know.
I don't fucking know. My parents retired or my parents died. I showed up for the funeral and then I left right away. You mean now the town's dead? Well, who gives a shit?
Yeah, when my parents aren't living in the town that I grew up in, I don't know if I would ever go back to it.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest. Like, I only ever go back to visit them, and then I get nostalgic for some things that were around, and I like the area, but otherwise, yeah, that town could go away and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
That's horrifying to me.
It's
that he would use
horrifying.
that he would use that apathy in such a way. That's terrifying, and that's awesome. And it's such a good fucking idea. I don't know if they intended us to think this way, if they really thought that deep about it, but I would not put it past Don Coscarelli to think that way. Like that's the horror of it, is that this, to make you think about it. And these sequences are just so well done. And it starts off with a bunch of action, and it transitions into this like slow, methodical hunt all around, with the tall man hunting people in the town and slowly taking them out, and then them going from abandoned ghost town to abandoned ghost town looking for clues to try and find where the tall man may be next. Like this shit could have been a really cool ongoing TV series, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The Hunt of the Tall Man.
Yeah.
Hunt of the Phantasm. There you go.
But what we end up getting is a movie-length version of that instead. And the way that they do it in the movie-length version of this, there's not a moment where you catch your breath or you don't like wonder what's going on and are following them and getting into the Scooby-Doo part of the mystery where they're like, running around abandoned buildings. Like there's nothing that's not tense or entertaining in some way, shape, or form in this film.
Exactly.
Except for James LeGros's acting, maybe.
But I mean, Jesus, it's just it is definitely something else that this movie is that the adventure it takes you on for crying out loud.
Yeah,
it's just good stuff.
Yeah, and we're only in the first 20 minutes, so let's get going, all right?
I mean, I don't know how we're gonna get through this thing. So
yeah,
the next 20, because we have just shit to say. The next 20 we start through, they go through a boarded up funeral home / mausoleum. And they decide to split up because that's always a great idea. Mike's going around, he finds a woman's body, looks pretty well preserved, sitting on a slab. She's naked. So, it's a naked woman corpse. Do you want to thank the movie?
Yeah, I just had a mouthful of ice. Thank you, movie.
There you go. As Mike looks back, it's gone. It disappears.
Did you recognize that beautiful young naked corpse?
I did not.
Really?
No.
Okay. I don't know if you remember this or not, but when we covered the Andy Sedaris movies, she showed up in one of the Andy Sedaris movies, and I said, holy shit, she was in Phantasm too. Her name is Samantha Phillips. She was the actress in, let me see if I can find it. She was in Dallas Connection. That's when I mentioned
it. Which one was she?
She was the Samantha Max. So she was like the main character that was like our replacement before. We had what was her name that was in like a
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, our main not Taryn.
She's not the one who kept stealing shit, right?
No, not Taryn.
That one.
No. Yeah. But she was like sort of like the amalgam of that, or like a new version of that.
I gotcha.
She was like the main agent in
now
that.
I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, well, that's funny.
Yeah, and I said, holy crap, she had a poop job during that, because I was really, really surprised. But it's the same actress, so there you go.
Well, there you go. He rejoins up with Reggie, and they go down to the basement, and they see a dwarf that's left there. Well, when the hood comes off of the dwarf, it looks just like Liz. It has Liz's face. Then all of a sudden, a growth comes out, and it's like a little head from the back of it, and it looks like the tall man. And it tells him if he wants to find him, they need to head east. They flame it and run out of there, and they head east. We gotta understand that a lot of time has passed since Reggie's family died, because Reggie said it's not the first calling card he's ever sent, but it's the worst. So we're missing a lot in between shots where there's time that goes past. Now, let's talk about that puppet.
Okay. The special effects and the puppetry in this are top notch and are absolutely fantastic. This is some fine,
fucking
practical
wonderful
work.
It is disgusting.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about the rating of this, right? This is an R-rated film. There is somewhere out there a version of the film that has been newly restored that got an NC-17/X rating. And they would not come down on it without lots and lots of cuts. And apparently they're putting that footage back together. Now that's in the newest Sphere box set that people can buy, and I don't have that one. I bought the Arrow one ages ago, and I'm hoping that this one, the extended version of Part 2, will get released to a separate disc at some point, because I don't want to have to buy the whole box set again, but I fucking will to be able to see that version.
I'll fucking do it.
Yeah, but can you imagine a film that had gore effects and stuff that were so gross that they gave it an NC-17 and wouldn't budge, or an X for that? Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking gross. I still find it gross and grotesque. I watched this on my projector, right? Big fucking screen, upscaled to 4K. So fucking gross.
Yeah.
It still looked great. And the way that the actress plays it is horrifying, because she's sitting there crying with her mouth taped. And I thought she was hunched over, but you're right. It is a dwarf body that they put her face on. And then the tall man comes out like a weird Freddy Pillar puppet thing and talks at him. Now
that's exactly what I thought about was the it was Freddy Krueger type shit.
The effects crew that worked on this was recommended to Don Coscarelli by Sam Raimi. Now, in one of those, he looks at the toe tag for somebody in one of the mortuaries, and it says Sam Raimi on it as well. So those are two different pieces of evidence. I want to submit that Don Coscarelli very consciously wanted to make a splat stick film because he dug Evil Dead style, because he has a Sam Raimi card. He gets Sam Raimi's advice on the best special effects artist to get, or who he should get to be able to do some of the stuff that he wants to do. And it's the same guys who did Evil Dead 2, which ended up being K&B, by the way. K&B effects.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I didn't know any of this until later on watching the interviews and everything, but my suspicions were confirmed when I saw the Sam Raimi card. I'm like, yep, totally had some influence from Raimi in Evil Dead, and I love that he took that and did his own thing with it. And it's so much more disturbing and gross. And this sequence it still haunts me. The sequence of that thing coming out of that girl's back. You get that burned in your brain. There are times when I'm trying to sleep at night and my brain pops that image into my head. It's happened.
Damn.
Yeah, because it's fucking gross. And just talking about it now, I can't fucking not see it in my head. I don't want to close my eyes because I keep fucking seeing it. It's gross. And it's so fucking cool, though.
Yeah, right?
And this is the point where I'm like, okay, you can't tell me. Yeah, you can't tell me the tall man is not a sadistic prick who is clearly torturing people. You can't tell me that.
Obviously is. He gets off on this.
Yeah. Okay.
Or it's his fun.
Yeah, good. Okay. So now when I said that in the first movie, can you kind of see it now?
Yeah, I can kind of see it now, yeah.
Okay. Now, I've been letting slip a few things that what's going to happen in the future, in the reviews, and I got to try and not do that because there's certain observations and certain things that I have questions about that I'm knowingly saying differently. Because we don't know at the time what the answer is, so I'm not going to give the answer. I'm just trying to put out the question and then maybe posit a not necessarily false idea, but also just an idea of what I originally thought before I knew the answer. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do when I do the review. This stuff that is happening in this sequence is this point where the monster comes out of the lady's back. This is where I fall in love with this movie as a kid. This is where I become a lifelong Phantasm fan because I'm so shocked, horrified, and grossed out by this.
Yeah, I'm really uncomfy by it. It's just shit coming out of the back is not cool.
Yeah, they give no fucks about your comfort level, Matt, because...
Yeah, they do not. They're not worried about my comfort level.
No. Don Coscarelli wants you to feel uncomfortable because the tall man is evil incarnate.
He told me to go fuck my safe space and about my comfort.
All right, we haven't hit 20 minutes, so we need to keep moving. We're never going to get this done.
I know, right? Jesus Christ. So then we cut to Liz is actually with her grandma. Well, Pop, he's dead, and they're going to his funeral. Liz's sister, Jerry, well, she leaves because, fuck this family. Her husband, is is spending too much time alone with their child, and apparently that's just fucking horrendous for the husband. So she's got to get the fuck out of there. Liz then starts walking around. She sees a dwarf walk around, and she calls out to Mike. Mike wakes up, and he's in a hotel or motel. Gets Reggie going. Apparently Reggie states they've been at this now for 6 months. Well, we cut back to the funeral. The priest is drinking pretty good. He says he's sorry, Lord, but he must stop the desecration. Then he takes out a knife and stabs dead Grandpa in the chest. Grandma sees this and she passes the fuck out, as one would.
Yeah.
Liz is walking around and she sees a steaming coffin, and then she runs right into the tall man. He says the burial services are soon, and she walks away. He has a little pin thing with some yellow shit on it, and he sops that up.
She was actually holding that. It was like a brooch or something like that.
Oh,
a butterfly brooch. And when he turns around, she stabs him with it in the finger accidentally, and so it's stabbed through his finger, and he's drinking the liquid off of the end, dropping off.
Gotcha. Well, the yellow shit's
I've watched
pouring.
this too goddamn much.
The yellow shit's pouring out of Pop, so fuck it, I guess. That night, the priest is getting hardcore drunk, and he hears banging at his door. He thinks it's the wind and trees, but he hears banging again, and he opens up like the little peephole door, and there's dead Grandpa just staring at him.
The mouth sewn shut. It's so fucking horrifying.
Then Liz puts Grandma to bed. Well, she hears some sounds, and she turns around, and there's Grandpa lying right next to her in the bed, with the knife still in him. Fucking horrifying. She screams, and that's the last of that 20 minutes.
The knife sticking in his chest, but did you also notice that his mouth was cut open, but the stitching was still sticking out of it, making it even more horrifying and grotesque?
Yes.
All right, we need to talk about the sadistic glee with which the tall man took this woman's life. This is not because it was the most practical thing. This was because it would be the most horrifying, awful thing that could have happened to her for her to die.
Yeah.
To send her dead husband's corpse into her bed with her. This is the stuff of nightmares that
says she loses everyone. So she lost all her children, because only her grandchildren are alive.
Yeah.
And now her husband.
Yeah. So he's taking everybody slowly, and this one, and the
tall man's really just a fuck.
And the way that he kills her, like, instead of just like, doing something that would have made it look like a heart attack just to have her or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, he does this specifically because it will make her suffer the most before she dies. So you can't tell me he's not sadistic.
No, yeah, he's definitely sadistic.
This shit, like, it keeps ratcheting up. Like, you thought the thing in the back was bad enough, and then you got like dead Grandpa running around scaring the shit out of everybody and like literally scaring his own wife to death, Right? Liz just lost her fucking her grandfather, and now she lost her grandmother to her grandfather's corpse. I mean, what the fuck, movie?
Oh, man. Jesus Christ, tall man, you play a hard fucking game.
This is the thing that I love about this movie, though, because like the tone is kind of wacky and fun for a lot of the stuff that has Mike and Reggie running around fighting him. And then when we get into the horror, it like goes so fucking hard-edged, but it still has that splat stick feel to it where it's just like so over the top. You want to just like kind of chuckle about it because you're like, look at that. He's dead along there. But the more you think about it, you're like, Jesus Christ, he just killed that woman by scaring her to death with her dead husband.
Yeah.
Because that was the easiest way to get another corpse out of her. That's fucking grotesque.
That's some hardcore shit right there.
Yeah, like the horror is in these movies if you look and if you pay attention and if you can feel any kind of empathy for your fellow human beings. Like you can see the hardcore horror. It's not, it's there.
Fucking horrendous. Yeah.
That's fucking great. This movie really fucking gets to me, dude. I love it.
Well, I mean, we start the next 20 minutes. Dreaming, Mike sees a woman hitchhiker who looks like just like the girl was on the table. She's hitchhiking and they pass her. Well, anyway, Mike wakes up and guess what? Reggie actually picked that hitchhiker up. She's real. 50 miles back. Her name is Alchemy.
Nothing scary about that.
No, nothing at all. Well, they pull over for a piss, and because you hear the piss sounds, that's actually our next clip.
Reg, this girl's in my dreams, except when she's in them, she's dead. I think for her sake, she shouldn't get involved with us.
Well, your dreams always come true?
No, not exactly, but pretty damn close.
Shit, Mike. Have you looked at her? We've been out here a long time. Besides, it gets hard on the road.
Reg, you're thinking with your wrong head. This girl, she's in danger.
Okay. So she's in danger with us or without us. Or at least with us, we can protect her, right? I mean, isn't that logical?
Yeah, in a horny sort of way, I suppose it is.
Works for me.
So, Kemi, where are you headed?
To my hometown, Perigord. It's about 20 miles down the interstate.
Perigord, here we come.
All right, we also need to talk about this clip. This is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Reggie fully admits, look, man, I'm fucking horny. That's why I picked her up.
Exactly. Reggie fully admits he's a man with needs.
Yeah. He literally says it gets hard on the road, like kind of showing his dick to Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Like, and the way that Reggie plays this, though, like, it's like not even fucking creepy. He's just being honest. He's like, dude, I need this. If it's going to work out for me, let me have this, right?
Bro, help me out. Be a bro.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, though, like, the way that Alchemy and him are kind of hitting it off in the car and, like, the looks that they're giving each other and the way that they're talking, like, Reggie's been working on her and just kind of, like, getting up to know her and everything and, like, you know, getting to know her and talking to her and doing his thing. So
Reggie's been working on this chick for 50 miles. You can't just expect him to just, abandon that. That's 50 miles worth of work.
Yeah, but she's also been kind of working on Reggie is what I get.
Yeah.
Like the way that they're getting along in the car. And then she comes looking for him like when he's barely even done peeing. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. I think they're kind of hitting it off and I'm digging it, And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can understand why he's asking Michael that. And you know what? His points are valid. Even if they are just because he's fucking horny, his points are still valid.
Very much so. Liz finds Grandma missing with that pin with yellow shit on it, and here's the tall man to come tonight to get Grandma. Well, then we cut to the guys driving through Al's town, and it's deserted. Looks just like the other towns. Liz finds Papa's grave, cut back to her, and it's empty, and the tall man says that he has them both. The group drives up to Al's uncle's bed and breakfast. It's all boarded up. They see a light on and shades closing, so that seems weird. Not in the bed and breakfast, but in a different house.
Well, they comment on it too, where they're like they're either too scared or they're too far gone or something like that. And
come out.
Yeah, and they don't really have to worry about them.
Yeah, they get into the bed and breakfast and they booby trap the fuck out of the place. They say they're gonna leave Al there because it's totally safe, and they're gonna go check out the graveyard. We see then Liz is inside the funeral home. She's spying a mortician, draining blood from a body and then pumping the yellow shit into it. A guy walks past her, carrying a casket. She hides though, so he can't, see her. But bringing in obviously another body. The guys pull up and they see a grave digger helping the tall man, and they decide, they've seen a few of these guys before, and they're gonna make sure they check everything out. They don't see the tall man. They just recognize that the grave diggers help the tall man. Liz is walking around and we see the priest praying. The priest then comes in, he checks out this little black coffin, and it's making noises, and when he opens it and tries to touch inside, it zaps him. When he's walking away, the tall man appears, and he says, you think it's like the line from the trailer.
You think that when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
Yes. And then chokes him with his own rosary. The rosary breaks and he runs away.
I could masturbate to that scene as a teenager.
That's okay. I mean, on asphyxiation, man, that's cool. How you live is how you live.
A priest being hung by his rosaries while that line is delivered, and I come like that, dude. It's nothing.
Well then, after he runs, the box opens up, and 3 of our metal balls show up. So fucking sweet.
Yeah, one of them's gold.
Go. Yes. Liz is walking around, the priest grabs her and tells her that her grandma's gone, and that he is harvesting the whole town, and they gotta get out of there and stop him. Then all of a sudden the ball comes by, and one of the balls comes by and cuts off his ear, and then drills him right into the head, and pours all his blood out of his fucking skull. So, that's pretty fucking cool.
The ear cutoff thing where it flies past, it's so perfectly straight, slices off everything perfectly. It's so grotesque and just instantaneous, and you see see the ear flying off, like, because it takes it off and then the ear slides even faster, you know, like, like right after it, the ear goes flying right after it. So
it's all good shit.
Yeah, the effects in this are incredible and just so well done. And that priest's death is awesome.
Yeah, agreed. It's very good.
Yeah, it's orgasmic, man. It's orgasmic.
Is it orgasmic? That's fucking all right. Let's just settle it down. Jesus Christ. Liz gets up. She goes to run, but the tall man catches her by the neck, throws her around. Then dwarf grandma shows up to try to get her, but Liz knocks her out. Liz runs out and into the graveyard where she runs and she falls into a grave and she meets up with Mike. They make out right away, and then Reggie shows up and they hide as they all watch two hearses drive by, and that's the end of that 20 minutes.
All right. Jesus fucking Christ, man. So much shit in this this sequence, man. Grotesque
The
stuff.
death scene was fucking the best.
The action just never stops, and it keeps escalating and it keeps working up, and then when they finally get away and they get a bit of reprieve and they might go hide or whatever it is that they're going to do, then it just sort of like gets to this point where you have this feeling of, well, is it going to come for them tonight when they're hiding out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it just never really gives you a moment to catch your breath, and you just realize that they've been living at least 6 months like this.
Yeah, just constantly running.
Until they find him. And they're not even running away. They're running to him. They are taking the fight to him in this movie.
Yeah.
The only reason they leave is because they're trying to rescue the people that were in the mortuary at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. It's fucking going crazy. It's a fucking great film because you're never comfortable.
Right, but like you're always entertained because you're constantly worried about these characters and you're engaged with them and you care about them. I even care about the new Liz, the new character that got added, and the way that they have her added in where they're just retconning that she's always been psychically linked to Michael and that's how she knows all this stuff. It's a great way to tell us, to bring us into the story if you haven't seen the first one, which I didn't at the time. It brought me right in, got me hooked and ready to go. And in these sequences where she's dealing with the deaths of her family and her loved ones and the stuff with the priest and she's freaked out, but she still knows what's going on and still is investigating, like, she's a very brave girl and you really get endeared to her character in these sequences.
Yeah, I agree. She came in very, very well done to bring a new character in. Feels very seamless.
Yeah, it works excellently. And I feel like Don Coscarelli may be the only person that knows how to do a fucking sequel to his own stuff, you know?
Maybe.
Like,
Jesus
really
Christ.
knows. Like, everything works so seamlessly. I'm convinced that this was all part of the first movie anyway.
Typically, a sequel fucking ruins the fucking franchise.
Usually, yeah. Not in this case. No, it just builds on it. And it keeps building, dude. That's the best part.
It keeps going. Yeah. Just keeps going. This movie just, oof.
No, I mean the whole series. Let's move.
The whole series. Well, that's even better.
Yeah, let's get going.
Oh, okay. Well, we're starting out the next 20 minutes. They're back at home base at the bed and breakfast, and that's our final clip.
What happened? Well, the priest saved my life, and just a few minutes later, I saw him get sliced and diced by some flying Cuisinart.
So you've seen it. His sphere. She's seen it, Reg. I told you, I had a funny feeling about this place.
He took my grandma. Turned her into some kind of...
Dwarf. Yeah, no, we've seen it before. He crushes him down and ships him up to God knows where.
Yeah, you got Mike's brother. You got my whole family. Well, I don't think we ought to wait around this place just waiting for him to come and get us.
You're right. But I think we only got a couple more hours till daybreak. And the traps on the door should keep us safe. I tell you what, why don't we just get some shut-eye? And then we'll just bang out of here in the morning.
Yeah, I could use some sleep.
Come on, I'll watch over you.
And I'll watch over you.
So fucking smooth the way he says that line and her.
Yeah, then Al takes off her shirt, and she and Reg, they go upstairs to go bone. Liz and Mike have a discussion in their dreams. That they have a very special connection. They're dreaming and they can talk without moving their lips.
Yeah, they
Reg
can
and Al
read each other's minds. Yeah.
Yeah. Reg and Al are fucking, and she loves his bald head. And this is kind of a very funny Evil Dead Ash esque type thing to happen to Reg. His face is fucking hilarious during this whole scene.
So Sam Raimi and crew and the guys, when they did the Evil Dead TV series, Ash vs. Evil Dead, this is very much like the sex scene in the opening of the very first episode of Evil Dead.
Yes.
Where he's plowing that chick from behind in the bathroom, you know, and he says lines like, well, maybe we should focus on me. And it's like, it's all kind of comical and phone.
Maybe we should focus on me for a second.
Yeah. And the sequence where she's like, I love your bald head, where like Reggie's clearly like freaked out by it, but like it feels good and she's fucking him like a champ. So he's just dealing with it.
They're having rodeo sex.
Yeah, she screams woohoo and like she's riding him and shit. And the actress who's doing this is she's having a blast. Samantha Phillips is just like going for it. And there's a sequence like towards the end of the sex scene, and we'll get to it, but like I feel like the actress was laughing because she was having such a blast. She lost.
I think so, yeah.
She broke character for a second while she's laughing, but then found a way to make it seem like something else.
So anyway, they hear a big bang, like one of their booby traps going off.
That's what, when the big bang happens, he throws her to the side. That's when she starts laughing, but then brings it back into character where she's like, that was a lot of fun. And she doesn't even care that there was an explosion because she just had some great sex.
Right. Well, Reg and Mike both go to check it out, and we see a hole is blown out of one of the windows, and it seems to be an animal got cut up in one of their traps, blown against the wall. Mike states that he wants to stop the hunt. Tells Reg, you're a former ice cream man, and he goes, we have 2 people now who we want to be with, and we want to protect them. And so they kind of agree they're going to stop the hunt for the tall man. Well, just at that moment, the tall man takes Liz, grabs her, she goes searching through windows, and he's outside of one and grabs her. Well, the guys are going to go get her back. Al wants to go too, but Reg tells her hell no, to take Liz's car and drive south for 100 miles, and then they'll meet later. As they're driving the car, the badass car, they're following, and Reg is getting ready to shoot the tall man before the tall man swerves his hearse, and in the most tragic death of the entire movie, the car flips. Reg gets stuck, but Mike's able to get all the equipment out and get Reg out before the car blows up. It's the saddest death so far in the movie.
This is horrific because there was an actual car destroyed for these sequences. I don't know how many actually got destroyed, but the world is poorer a hemikuda or more because of this sequence, and it really, really breaks my heart. There's a few muscle cars that you connect with just when you first look at them and you just kind of see them and you're like, that is one cool fucking car. Like you just like it just connect with
I'm not a big car guy, but there are a few but my favorite types are muscle cars, and that's one of them. And it just breaks my fucking heart.
Yeah, the hemikuda is a beautiful fucking piece of machinery, and watching it get so fucking violated like this is one of the most egregious things the tall man has ever done. Even worse than killing that woman.
The only thing
with
worse
her own husband's corpse.
The only thing worse done to a muscle car other than that was some asshole slapping a Confederate flag on one.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the only thing worse than what was done to this car.
I have no argument.
Let's see here. Liz is taken to the crematorium, and then we see the guys, they're getting to the funeral home. There's a dude preparing the chamber for Liz. She wakes up but pretends to still be asleep. In the embalming room, as they're searching, Reg actually pours acid into the yellow shit. So remember that.
Well, and he says something along the lines of, watch him try and embalm somebody with this shit. Like, he's like getting like, it's like this funny little like thing that he takes the time to do. Like, Reg is just doing a little fuck you to them.
Yeah, right. So, they then find this lock that has 2 slits. And they determine that one of the balls will open that, and that's probably the doorway into the tall man's world.
They added a security door to it this time.
Yes. Right towards the end, right before Liz is going to go into the embalming chamber, she wakes up, she hits the dude right in the nards, and then throws him into the crematorium, locking him in, burning him alive, and that's the end of that 20 minutes.
That was pretty horrific, but at the same time, he was going to do that to Liz, so whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But his screams really made that fucking worth it.
Oh, and the grody melted hand hitting the window with the greasy stuff coming off where the fat's already rendering underneath in the heat. Yeah.
The actor did a great job screaming.
Yeah.
In like a very painful way. Like, fuck, my nerve endings are melting away, and that does not feel good.
How did you like this interior of the mortuary versus the previous movie's interior of the mortuary?
The other mortuary seemed like brand new in a town that was still alive. I think they both make sense for each movie. The first mortuary was in a town that was still very much alive. This one is in a town that's in the process of dying, so the mortuary is much more broken down because there's no upkeep to it.
Right, and the hallways and everything, like with all the pillars and everything, did you like the way that the marble and everything looked in that one? Or
yeah, I think so.
Okay. Did it look like it was a much more upscale, fancier marble in this mortuary? Like it was even a bigger mortuary? Did you get the sensation that this was an even huger mortuary than the last one?
I got a feeling it was bigger, yeah.
Okay. You ready to have some more mind-blowing shit thrown your way about this movies?
Sure.
Those were sets that they kind of built themselves by the crew, like especially in the first one. Yeah, it's like really, really cheap plywood sets where they just kind of threw them together and they made it look like marble and they made it so convincing and beautiful using like shelf contact paper that looks like marble. They just laid out the sheets ever so gently in both of them. You can tell if you really, really look, but for the most part in those shots, like you can't really tell at all. Like it tricks your mind so beautifully. Like even though I've told you that and ruined it, and you can start to look and you will find the contact paper if you look for it, then if you just get back into the scene and don't look super, super close, you just totally forget about it and it looks like marble again and it tricks your brain. I don't know how they did it, but they did it so masterfully and so beautifully the way they built those sets.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the marble is just shelf contact paper or something like that that looks like marble. It's incredible.
That is. I mean, it was really well done, really well put together.
Yeah, and I figured this would be a good time to talk about it because we're about to get into some crazy fucking shit and I would forget it if I didn't bring it up now, and it's a good thing to talk about at the 20 minutes.
Yes. Well, we're getting ready to go into the final 20.
Cool, let's do it.
Liz is running around and hears someone call her name. A ball comes along and it's getting ready to hit her, and Mike tackles her, saving her. They are attacked by another one of the goons helping out the tall man. And this is where I realize I don't think the balls have any kind of allegiance. I think they just kill whatever's moving. Because the ball then goes around and hits the guy in the hand, trapping him. Another ball shows up and the dude cuts off his own hand to get away from it. Mike and Liz, they lock themselves in a different room. Then we cut to Reg just walking by and he's attacked by a grave robber, and we have we're getting ready to have a chainsaw fight, but not yet. We cut back to Liz and Mike, and the ball blows through the door. Mike and Liz then hide, and the ball is searching for him with a laser, and that laser kills a rat.
It throws out a fucking grid. This thing is terrifying. It's super high tech.
Yeah, super high tech with no allegiances.
I feel like
that's another thing.
I feel like these things are just set to kill, and then whenever there's a problem, they're just gonna fucking kill. Yeah,
and they're like, don't get in its way. Like whoever the operators are or whoever releases them, they're just like, just make sure you're not in their way because we don't have any way of marking you as safe.
Yeah, they don't lock on to a specific person. They just embed
lock
themselves
onto anything.
Yeah, at least in this movie, they're kind of mindless drones that just attack living flesh.
Pretty much, yeah. Keeps chasing them in a very somewhat Evil Dead way. Going through all these doors.
Yeah, like it's breaking through the cabin.
Door.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That was awesome.
Yeah. And until they get behind a metal door, but we see it starting to slowly burn through it. Well, the one-handed man attacks, but the ball busts through and digs its way into his back. And then it goes all the way into his body, up into his throat. You see the bulge in his throat. It is just pretty much clearing him out from the inside.
Yeah, this was horrific, and I would love to see the longer extended cut of this if it exists.
Yeah, that was kind of fucking awesome, though. I mean, that guy deserved it. So
this is where it gets splat stick because it goes so over the top and so ridiculous that he's still able to move and feel until it gets away, like where it drills all the way up through the end of his mouth, you know? Like, it's so horrific, but at the same time, it's so over the top that it becomes, like, excessive and humorous, but, like, horrific at the same time.
Well, the ball's kind of stuck in his body, so they just leave. Then we cut to
what else
Reg.
are you going to do but walk away from that, right?
Just like, well, let's just go. I guess we're done. Reg is in the middle of a chainsaw fight. Unfortunately, Gravedigger's chainsaw is much bigger than Reg's.
Dick joke.
Yeah. And it gets knocked out of Reg's chainsaw, gets knocked out of his hand, and he's forced to kind of just have to constantly evade. It's like a lot of cat and mouse with the chainsaw. Finally, Reg gets his chainsaw back and cuts the guy right through his dick. Then all of a sudden we see dwarves start coming out, and Reg's shotgun shells all got cut off of his body because they were on a sling. But he has the shotgun, but now he only has one one shot, but it's 4 shots because it's 4 barrels. So it's like 6 of them, and he blasts them all, killing them all.
Amazing. This is like my favorite part of this movie where he does the 4-way shot.
I fucking love that gun, and you only got to use once. It's just, it hurts.
Brother, let me tell you, you're going to enjoy the rest of this series like you won't believe. Yeah.
Because that was the biggest blue balls I ever had. Don't get me wrong, the scene rocked. I just would have liked more.
You are not the only one, and Don Coscarelli heard us all and addresses it. He does.
Oh, that's great. I'm starting to really like this guy.
Right?
I'm starting to really. I think he's doing smart stuff over here. So Al is in Liz's car, but apparently it's stalled out, and she's walking, or apparently it's stalled out, so she's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Mike, he goes and grabs the spear that's embedded in that one dude's hand that cut his hand off, and Reg shows up, and he says apparently they go dormant when they're embedded in human flesh. Well, we see Al walking, and she finds herself a hearse, and she's checking it out. Well, the guys get to the door, and they plug in the ball, and of course, the door opens, and we see the white room. We see dwarf containers and the doorway, the 2 metal poles to the other world. Well, the tall man shows up. Mike gets pulled into the doorway. Reg grabs him and he gets pulled in, but his feet catch one of the metal poles, so they're kind of just drug in there.
I love that Reggie keeps a frame of mind just enough to know that he can wrap his feet around the poles to catch himself, and you can see him cranking his ankles forward to make hooks to keep his feet on there, and then working to try and pull them both back. It's really fucking cool. This sequence is so fucking great.
Oh yeah. As in the red world, this creature starts breaking, or one of the dwarves, newly born of its tube, starts breaking out and crawling towards the guys. The tall man takes Liz, and he's going to embalm her with the yellow stuff that we know is acid. Mike is able to get out and pulls Reggie out of the doorway. They release the ball from the hand, and it embeds right into the tall man. Well, he pulls it out and crushes it. And then we see this weird tentacle come out of his head. Well, they break it off, and then Liz stabs him in the back with the yellow fluid that's with the acid, burning him completely up. And that was kind of a cool effect.
Okay, so the thing that sticks out of the head, James LeGros was horrified and grossed out and disgusted by that thing. So the way that he reacts when it comes near his face, that's all real.
Yeah, because it is gross. Fucking disgusting.
Yeah, and then when he had to pull that thing out of his head and stuff like that, he did not like that at all. The meltdown makeup was actually initially going to be 4 stages, but the 3rd stage looked goofy and didn't look right, so they just went 1, 2, and 4 or something like that. They got rid of one of the stages, but in the cuts and the way that they dissolve back and forth, the melting down of this was my first exposure to a meltdown sequence, and I was so grossed out and queasy from it, I wanted to find more. So
of course.
I started looking for movies that had people melt in them.
Of course you did.
Just because it so grossed me out, I wanted to see it again.
Jesus. They start burning the place down, and Al pulls up in the hearse, and they all take off inside of it, with Mike and Liz in the back of the hearse and Reggie up front. They check the casket in the back. It's empty. Thank God. Then Al closes the window that's to the back, and then as Reggie's kind of saying sweet nothings to her, she caresses the side of her hair, and it falls out, showing blood, which means she's not of one of us. The car swerves a lot. You hear Reggie screaming. We're now in the back with Mike and Liz. Then the car stops, and we see a very beaten up and cut up Reggie on the window. He falls down, and the hearse takes off. And they keep telling each other, Mike and Liz, they tell each other it's just a dream. They're just dreaming. It can't hurt them. The window comes down. It's the tall man sitting there now. He said, no, it's not. And then they get pulled out of the back window by a couple dwarves. Roll credits.
When Don Coscarelli first did the script for this movie, and he was trying to think of how to kind of do a sequel, because in the 70s, when he made the film originally, he was not thinking of doing sequels. He was just, the end was going to be the end, and then you do another movie, because the way that he always did things was like, the people that he admired and the people he wanted to pattern his filmmaking career after, the masters of filmmakers that were his inspiration, they didn't do sequels, so he never really thought of it, and he didn't plan it out. But then he started getting the inclination and wanting to do it, so So he was trying to figure out a way to bring us back into that world. Like, how do you pick up where you left off? And he's like, you just pick up where you left off. So that's what he did.
Yeah.
And not only did he do that, but he expanded it. And he does it in such a way that for the longest time, no matter how many times I saw the original as a kid, I always confused the fact that what happens at the beginning of Phantasm 2 with the explosion and everything doesn't happen in Phantasm 1. And you know what? As a fucking adult watching it this time, I was like, wait, I thought the house blew up. Like my head, my mind went to that again. You know what I mean? Like I'm just, they all become one giant movie in my head. You get what I'm saying? Like they just all meld together. Yeah. And this one, like when I'm watching it, I'm starting to be like, holy fuck, this movie's fucking with me, because I could have swore that explosion was in the first one, you know? And like I was thinking like, no, I watched that movie. I watched all of it. There was no explosion in that one. It's only in this one, but it feels like it's the end of the movie. And like if you wanted to, you could supercut these together too, man. That would be fucking amazing. I may do that someday. But you know, picking up where it left off, picking up steam, bringing in the elements of Splatstick that were really kind of coming to fruition in the 80s and that Sam Raimi really kind of championed, and like liking that kind of stuff and wanting to make it his own and doing his own thing and mixing stuff together like that with the themes and the feelings of the movie, where it goes from Splatstick to like absolute abject horror, still brings in this ethereal gothic stuff. We didn't even talk about it, but that sequence where they're walking across the graveyard with all those dug open graves and they're just trying to stroll casually along and be quiet and not fall into one of those when there's very little room to walk. They're like, you know, the sections between plots that they're digging out the tombstones in is what they're walking around in, and there's just nothing but open graves, and it's so dangerous and so scary and creepy, and there's just fog everywhere, and like the atmosphere is just dripping. Action when it kicks in is so fucking good and so fucking violent, and the effects are so fucking gross. And this is the cut down version that got put into theaters. I can't wait to see what else this thing goes, like how much more excessive it gets. It's such a good fucking movie. It's so much fucking fun.
It's great. And the money's spent well. The money's put in the right places. The acting is, again, very well done. Yeah, it's a great movie. You're left with some blue balls in the weapons part, except for the flamethrower. They're constantly using that. But fucking the shotgun. And then, of course, the car dying. That murdered me.
Okay, now, in the original Hellraiser, when they made Hellraiser, they had no idea that people were going to gravitate towards Pinhead like they did. They didn't predict that. They had no clue. So when they started working on Hellraiser 2, they wrote it thinking that Julia was going to be the main evil character. They thought that they'd be able to bring everybody in with that one. They didn't know that people would latch on to the Cenobites and Pinhead like they did.
Yeah.
The four-way shotgun, my friend, is the same thing, because they had this giant gas-powered, like natural gas, huge flame ball flamethrower that they had to use, and is visually very appealing. But that four-way shotgun blast thing, maybe they only had one chance at that because they were running out of money for effects or whatever. But for whatever reason, or maybe they just didn't even know that it was going to catch on like it did.
This won't be as popular as a flamethrower. It's a flamethrower.
Right. But I'm telling you, and this is the only time I'm gonna fucking give it away, and tell everybody. Yeah. Don Coscarelli has heard your concerns, and he will address them for you in the following films.
I'm very happy. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, the only other thing is the trailer does give away the ending. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, like, it's no different than knowing the ending of the other film, because I think the ending of the other film where he turns around and the tall man's there and he gets pulled through the mirror, I think that's in the original trailer too. So
it probably is. Yeah.
Everything else is just so well done and well put together that I'm willing to forgive that much egregious thing, and Coscarelli probably had no control over that anyway,
I mean, it's a very small thing to pick at.
Yeah. And I even love,
you never know that's going to be the end.
Yeah. I even love Samantha Phillips in this, and I totally buy her being this wild child girl that just like totally gets off and like just really into everything that Reggie has to offer, and like really, really getting into him and like having sex with him. And then it turns out that she's just another version of the Lady in Lavender.
Yep.
Damn. But this one fucking got me because he plays the long game with this one and tricking them.
Now, was she? Because she did leave. Now, what if she was a real person, but Tall Man just killed her?
Hey, that's a possibility.
And then took her, because why would she actually leave and take Liz's car.
I felt that she was the tall man, lady in lavender style all over again because she's dead on a table when he sees her. He has a vision of her there, and then he dreams of her dead later again before she shows up in the car.
I think that's his special ability, telling him that eventually that girl is going to die.
Oh, I always just assumed she was dead all along.
I don't think she was dead all along. Or else she never would have taken Liz's car and drove it until it broke down and then found a hearse magically. I think, Tall Man knew that she was out there and, that Reg told her to get the hell out of there. So when the car broke down, whether maybe that Tall Man did that too, he sent the hearse there and, took care of her while she was in the hearse, killed her, and then used her like as a new lady in lavender.
Hey, that's a distinct possibility too. We may have seen it different. We may have interpreted it differently, but that's the thing that's so amazing about these films. Neither one of us is really wrong because it could be anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You don't know so much of what's going on. And again, we're coming into these various scenes where we just kind of are already there and then we have to figure out on our own that much time has passed. And then they tell us in some cases, hey, it's been 6 months, but it's the characters talking to each other, like just talking about how this has been too long. It's done in such a way to where it's not this info dump expository dialogue. It's natural dialogue that you would have where it's like, dude, we've been trying to kill this guy for 6 months and I haven't gotten laid. That's the kind of conversation that you would actually have with someone. These films are just, this one in particular, since this is the one that we're reviewing, this is really well done. This is really well put together. And this is how you do a fucking sequel.
I agree.
Awesome. I'm glad you liked it. Do you have anything else you have to say on this one? Or
I got nothing to add. Yeah, I could have already said everything I had to say.
All right. Well, then we're going to take the break here. We're going to play the Geek Radio Daily promo. We're going to have some more music that was snagged right out of the end credits of Phantasm 2. When we come back, we actually have some more feedback.
Hey, all right.
Are you having trouble keeping up with the ebbs and flows of modern geekery? Is the real world holding you back from knowing what is happening in the geeky world? To answer these and other personal problems brought in by your friends, gaming group, and loved ones, Geek Radio Daily presents daily informational sessions brought to you by the wonderful Billy Flynn, the Flynnstress, and podcasting's Rich Siegfried. They contain such helpful segments as history, geek birthdays, box office results, the latest in DVD and Blu-ray, video game and comic releases. Why, they also have a Sweekly show hosted by the wonderful Billy Flynn and the Flynnstress, which includes interviews and commentary. And to make sure you are informed, Geek Radio Daily also provides you with your daily dose of geek news to make sure you know more than that jerk know-it-all Steve. Visit us at geekradiodaily.com. That's right, Geek Radio Daily. All the geek without the weight. Now available in fine...
So someone took the original Phantasm theme and kind of spruced it up a little bit, added a little bit more flair, a little bit more drama, a little bit more kick to it, and that's what we got here for the end credits.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, man. We don't have time to talk about that. We only have enough...
Time for incoming mail!
All right. So our boy Darren from the Psychosemantic cast has reached out to us for this week's episode.
Hey, this is Darren. I just wanted to check back in. You're not yet finished with the Phantasm series, but I just wanted to say congratulations again and to let the pressure off Matt as of recording. There, let me check real quick just so I'm not doing that thing when you assume. Let's see. Matt PSYOPS has still not read my message, and it is about 6 months since it was sent, and I've been realizing that it would logistically take 2 or 3 more messages to schedule any sort of recording, and I usually don't plan 2 years ahead on the show. So I want to say, don't worry about it, Matt. Your shitty manners paid off, and you are no longer on the hook. And congratulations on all the hard work you do, Court.
Darren coming out of the corner swinging at you, buddy.
Oh, man, I'm going to tell you right now, when you put it in months, it sounds way worse than you put it in weeks. I'm just saying.
Yeah, 6 fucking months. You're kind of a dick, aren't you?
Listen, yes, of course I am.
I want you to know that actually Darren is such a good dude that he doesn't even bode you ill will or anything like that.
Oh, I know that.
He's just literally like, okay, Court, stop fucking making fun of him for it. That's what he's doing. He's like, we could let him off the hook now.
I think you should still keep going.
Yeah, I'd have to count it 6 months and another week, but I'm.
You know what? If you stop it now, that's when I'll contact him again.
All right, so I guess that's how we're gonna do it. Let's see if I can make it through the end of the show and not give you shit, right?
All right, yeah. Let's see what you got.
All right, let's see if we can do it.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema PSYOPS, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick Six Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, Two Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.
Right, so that was once again right out of the soundtrack from Phantasm 1 being reused. According to the soundtrack track listings of the soundtrack for soundtrack 2, it was reused. So I guess, I don't know 100% certain or not, but it's listed on soundtrack for Phantasm 2. I'm going to use it and take its word for it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, but other places...
Always believe what you're told, God damn it.
Yeah, no, you should definitely fact check other people at all times and always be skeptical.
Oh, well, fine then.
If you would like to find other instances where Matt tried to sneaky sideload in the way to be able to start his own cult, you can find the other 308 previous instances of the show where he has done that at legionpodcast.com/cinema-psyops.
Cult is such a religious-y word.
It's kind of culty.
I prefer groupthink.
If you'd like to take a look at our memes that may help you join in with the groupthink, that is available at our gram of Insta, known as cinema_psyops. That is the meme repository for all of the memes shared for everyone.
The memes are how we get them in the cult. I mean, groupthink. Shit.
If you'd also like to join a group that will help you think, you can jump onto Facebook in our Facebook group, Cinema PSYOPS, there for group thinking.
Yeah. Definitely group thinking, not cult thinking. Saved it.
I'm available there as Court PSYOPS, and Matt is also available there as Matt PSYOP.
Yes, not cult leader PSYOP. So see, it's not a cult, because that would be on.
You can email feedback to Matt, psyopmatt@gmail.com, and ask him more about this cult with which he speaks of.
No, it's not a cult. It's just some groupthink. Jesus Christ, Court.
You can email feedback to Court, cinemapsyopscourt@gmail.com, and let him know that there is no way in hell Matt could successfully lead anything. Especially not a cult.
I've been trying to get people into this cult for 10 years now, and it's not working out.
You can twit a couple of tweets to a couple of twats who happen to be the world's worst cult leaders on Twitter. I'm at Court_Psyop, and he is at Psyop Matt.
We would be. I don't even think you'd be a good cult leader, because eventually I think you get sick of all the people asking you, like, what should we do today? And you'd be like, fuck, I don't know. Just leave me the fuck alone. How about that? How does that sound?
Well, while you're out there asking me what we should do today, and I'm telling you just to leave me the fuck alone, kick the fuck out of this weekend. Make it your bitch.
Chase your tail light. I'll be under your skin. Letting you go for a while. Then I'm taking you in. Fists like diamonds. Glimmer and punch. Shiny predator. With a golden gun. Space age girl machine. Space age girl machine. Space age girl machine.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Gotcha.
I was waiting for you to say hi first this time.
Corpse fucking. Corpse fucking.
I haven't said hello. I said it like 2 times.
I didn't hear
More
it
than
for
one.
I didn't hear it for whatever reason. It just wasn't coming through. Maybe it just was buffering or some shit.
Corpse fucking. Corpse fucking.
You hearing that?
Corpse fucking.
Yes,
Corpse fucking.
perfect.
It is perfect.
Corpse fucking.
Yeah.
All right. I'm set up. You can hear the clips. Are you recording yet?
I am recording now. 1, 2, 3. Good to go.
All right, so we had to delay it because I was more than prepped and ready to do some work, but Bev is heading out of town with her family. And I chose to spend some time with her because I knew I was going to be dropping her off at what I thought was going to be 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I would have plenty of time to do the clips and everything that I needed to do and get Mac's shot and all of that, right?
Of course.
So I hung out with her for as long as possible, and then it got delayed, so I decided I wanted to keep hanging out with Bev, you know, because she's going to be going away for a couple of days. I want to spend as much time with my wife as I can before she goes. So we don't get to the location where they're all meeting up to go for this drive trip until after we watch the entirety of the season finale of Loki is when I finally drive her there. I get back from dropping her off from the departure point of their trip, you know, and I get back to the house and it's 7:15. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, there's no way I'm going to be able to do all these clips and give Mac his shot early and be able to watch him. Either way, I'm going to be delayed until I'm done with one thing or the other. So my decision was I would just basically do what I did, where I was like, I texted you, told you what was happening, and then did all this shit. And I'm just like fucking so stressed trying to get all this shit done after the power outage and all of this kind of shit.
Yeah, of course.
I want to give Bev's sister like a modicum of shit on the air here.
All right.
Just to fucking vent. Well, actually, like their family, they're notorious for not being on time. Like they'll show up early, they'll show up late, but they never really show up on time ever. Actually, I don't think they ever show up early. They usually are like late. We tried to have them over for like a snacking lunch thing and maybe play a round of cards.
Yeah.
In like the early afternoon. It was supposed to be lunchtime. They didn't show up till 4 o'clock.
Jesus Christ.
On us once. Yeah. So 45 minutes after they wanted to leave to take this long fucking 18-hour drive that they're doing straight in shifts, they finally make it there, I guess.
Oh my lord.
Oh no, that's when I dropped Bev off 45-ish minutes later.
They might not have left yet.
Yeah, they were not there, I do not think. When I got home at like 7:05, I don't think they were still there.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. Punctuality, people.
Why have that? Who are you? Stop acting like you're better than everyone.
I'm at least on time more.
Yeah, stop it. Stop doing that shit. And you know you're making everyone else feel bad?
Yeah. Well, I feel better now, so we're good. And nobody's going to hear
go.
this till the end of the show anyway, so we're good.
Yeah, fuck it. They don't listen.
Yeah, I needed to vent. I needed to get that out. So I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling like I can do a long, hello yell like I always fucking do.
Yeah, that's good. We need that.
All right. So I think I'm feeling the energy. How about you? Right?
Yeah, I'm feeling it. Let's go.
All right. Okay. Here we fucking go. God damn it.
Fucked up.
No, I didn't fuck up. I just the fucking sound plant thing is really pissing me off. It doesn't play the first clip, like it doesn't play the audio for some reason.
Weird.
Yeah, like whenever I play the Legion Patreon ad and then I go into the music afterwards, it fucks up and it just doesn't play the sound for the music afterwards. It just completely stops it, and I have no idea why, and I haven't been able to figure it out. That's why I hit the button to try and make sure it had audio, and then I tried to hit play it again. That's why I'm frustrated.
Badasses always walk away from something they just destroyed and not look. That's why I always walk away from your toilet and I don't look.
I just wish DeJoy would do that with the fucking mail. Anyway, sorry, that was just for you and me.
Yeah, of course.
But he only looks to make sure he doesn't get hit by debris as he's walking away. That's it.
And sorry, hold on. Oh, crap. Okay. Maybe almost like, God, these kids call that an explosion? Fucking Christ.
I'm going to send a fucking hurricane force winds on the plane to two guys in Omaha talking about this movie.
Hey, Omaha, you ever had a hurricane before? And I'm like, we must be dreaming. And you're not.
It was a plane that came.
Yeah. Good one. So anyway, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I was just taking a hit off my vape.
Let's see here. Where am I? I just wanted to...
Right after the clip.
I just want to make people hear pissing.
You're out there asking me what we should do today, and I'm telling you just to leave me the fuck alone. Kick the fuck out of this weekend. Make it your bitch. Okay, I guess we're out on that one.
All right.
You didn't leave me with much to transition from there.
Not really. Not on that.
It worked,
I've
though.
stopped recording.